What's going on, guys, and welcome back to WWE Network and Chill, where every single Monday I, Graham G.S. Matthews, break down all the original programming that I watch on the WWE Network. Hope you guys are doing well. Coming off of WrestleMania last night, the WrestleMania excitement is far from over. We got Raw tonight, SmackDown tomorrow, but before Raw and SmackDown, before we get to all that other amazing, exciting stuff coming up, we got Network and Chill here today. Today we're talking Ride Along, Phenomenal and Glorious Getaway. It aired last week after Raw on the WWE Network on April 2nd, 2018, featuring Jinder Mahal and Sunil Singh, the other half of the Singh brothers that's not currently hurt, and none other than AJ Styles and Bobby Roode. Now, obviously, if you're not a TNA fan, you're like, what's the connection? Why are they, riding together? Obviously, they're good friends dating back to their time in TNA as former Fortune 4 teammates and all that other stuff. Rivals, teammates, partners, friends, all that great stuff. So, looking forward to talking all about it here today on the show. So, per usual, I will run down my play-by-play commentary on the episode of everything that went down. So, they're leaving from San Diego, I believe, for a house show in San Diego, California, driving from there to SmackDown Live in Los Angeles. I'm not sure how far back this would have been. I think Roode mentioned something about being United States champion, which he only was for about a month and a half. So, I assume this would have taken place at any point from mid-January to the Fastlane pay-per-view a few weeks ago, about a month or so ago. Nonetheless, they say it takes about 2 hours is the drive, so we get a bit of discussion between all four guys along this episode, which is about 20 minutes in length. Usually these shows are run from 16 to 18 to 20 minutes, if not a little longer, and they're always enjoyable. This one is no exception. So Styles and Roode, the first thing we see as they get in their car to take off for Los Angeles is them debating over eating eggs, and Roode eating the yolk and whether it's good for him or not. So that kind of sets the tone for the rest of the episode in regards to what kind of stuff you're going to see from these guys. Meanwhile, Jinder and Sunil, they call Samir, who got hurt late last year. They FaceTime him to get an update from him, see how he's doing. They missed riding with him. I guess Samir's been growing a beard in the time that he's been gone from WWE TV. Roode and Styles, meanwhile, discuss wrestling for the first time back in 2002. And here's the funny thing. This is the one part of the episode I did not get. So AJ does mention TNA. If you were interested to see, they're going to talk about their past as partners, as rivals. Are they going to mention TNA? They do. AJ does mention TNA. Obviously, no visuals. We don't see any video or any pictures of them fighting in TNA. But AJ does mention TNA. And he said something along the lines of, the last time we wrestled was like the final nail in the coffin. So I don't know if he was talking about the match with Roode or if it was around that time that they wrestled where he felt that he was on his way out. I think they had a few matches in 2013, so that might be what AJ was talking about. But he doesn't go in any further depth. But it is worth noting that he does mention TNA here on the show. So it's fucking Ride Along, like who cares? I know they don't want to mention a TNA on Raw or SmackDown or even NXT. But what the fuck? It's Ride Along, like who cares? Why not? Anyway, Roode says that he never thought he would be in the spot that he's in today, and I don't think anyone could say the same. I'm not sure if anyone can't say the same, I should say, in regards to Roode being a United States champion in WWE. We all know he could do it, but I honestly never thought in a million years AJ or Roode would be where they are today in WWE, let alone in the company. But they recall both having WWE tryouts back in the day. We see footage of Bobby Roode as like Ruby Roode or some shit like that back in the early 2000s. And AJ, we see a small clip of him doing a tryout promo for WWE back in like 02, 03, whatever, or maybe it was like 01 for like Jacked or Heat or whatever it was. Styles talks about no one expecting to see Styles do what he's done in WWE. He calls that unbelievable. Meanwhile, the Singhs thought that when they were being brought in to be Jinder Mahal's henchman about a year ago when he was first pushed as the WWE title contender in the spring of 2017, when they first got the call to come to Tuesday's TV, they thought they were being brought back for 205 Live. And then they were being told they were being put with Jinder when he won that six-pack challenge on SmackDown to become as I had mentioned, the number one contender to the WWE Championship. They said it was great for the Singhs. It was great for them because they've known Jinder since their Calgary days, since their days on the independent scene many, many years earlier. Bobby Roode talks about having an amazing debut at the Barclays Center at TakeOver Brooklyn 2, which I was there for. Styles says the same. He said his debut in Orlando at the Rumble. He said it was fun for the fans. They even know who I was at the Rumble in 2016. So he talks about Jinder, that is, talks about wanting or having the 3MB, like the origins of 3MB. Heath Slater said he wanted to get a band together, and Jinder, as soon as he heard Heath say that, he knew, oh, I'm going to be a part of the band. And ultimately, he was, alongside Heath and Drew McIntyre. He found out he was in it, and they went to off days. On their off days, they went to FCW, fun fact, to have air guitar practice. According to Jinder, that's what he says. He says he believes the faction will reform at some point down the road and be a dominant faction in WWE. Obviously, bit of a facetious statement, but nonetheless, it would be cool to see them like interact backstage on an episode of like Raw or SmackDown at some point. And it's not completely out of the question at all. In fact, I expect it to happen at some point. Jinder's on SmackDown, Heath is on Raw, Drew's on NXT, but at some point they will all end up on the same show. They don't need to reunite. I don't want them to reunite, but especially for Drew's sake. But it would be cool to see them interact at some point down the road to see how far both Drew and even Jinder, who I'm not a fan of, but the guy's a former WWE champion, to see how far all four of those guys, or rather three of those guys, have come. Anyway, AJ asks Rude, is it true that your theme song, the Glorious entrance song, was supposed to be Shinsuke Nakamura's? And Bobby Roode says, yes, it was. That rumor is correct. And it was the greatest thing to ever happen to me. And without it, I don't think I would be where I am today. They talk about Jinder, that is. We go back to the Singh and the Jinder car. And Jinder says that Heath Slater, speaking of Heath, he has a bladder of a 3-year-old girl. And he told him he could not ride with him anymore, because if he did, they would probably no longer be friends. That's how frustrated and fed up Jinder was with Heath and his constant stopping of the car to go pee at some fucking gas station or whatever. Hey, if someone did that to me, I would be pissed off too. So then we go with AJ and Rude, with them talking about their TNA days and their debuts and their theme songs, to talking about peanut butter. And they talk about peanut butter being overrated. I don't know what they're talking about. Bobby Roode is eating some sort of peanut butter. I don't know if it's creamy or crunchy. I don't know what it is. Maybe I missed something. But because AJ is driving, Bobby Roode feeds the peanut butter to AJ Styles, and he calls it overrated. Again, no idea what that's all about, but it's hilarious to see. Sunil Singh is apparently obsessed with Tupac, going to every city that they travel to look up murals of Tupac. Bobby Roode and AJ Styles play the wrestling name game, which I think was invented by Tommy Dreamer, if I'm not mistaken, where, for example, if you throw out the name AJ Styles, you then have to name the name of a wrestler. You have to name a wrestler that starts with the letter S, because that was the last name of AJ Styles is an S, so the first name has to be an S for the person that you name. So they go back and forth for a bit. I think Rude was the one that wanted to play. He ends up losing, or I think it was AJ that wanted to play, but Rude ended up winning because AJ named, of all people, Sean Stasiak twice, which was pretty funny to watch. Jinder talks about dancing with Triple H in India after their match back in December, I think it was, and how that kind of got more media mainstream coverage in the match itself. Bobby Roode and AJ Styles talk about Jeff Jarrett being in the Hall of Fame. If it wasn't for him, they likely would not be where they are today in WWE. Bobby Roode recalls being backstage for Jeff Jarrett's final WWE match back in 99, I think it was, No Mercy 99. He saw him leave, but he had no idea that he would end up leaving the company for good and never coming back until the Hall of Fame this year. Sunil talks about wearing stringy tank tops to the gym and how it kind of makes him look more jacked than he actually is. I guess that's a trick or something. Anyway, I almost said Bobby Styles. Bobby Roode and AJ Styles talking about how they can't woo. We already know Bobby Roode can't woo through his partnership with Charlotte Flair in the Mixed Match Challenge. But AJ Styles, I had no idea he couldn't woo. For a guy that used to be the pupil of Ric Flair in TNA, you think you'd be able to woo, but apparently their voices are so low, or so, whatever, they can't reach that level of woo, which is pretty interesting. So Rude tries, and AJ says, you can't woo, it's not good. It's loud, but it's not a good woo. Anyway, Jinder talks about him and Braun Strowman at some point hitting a deer in North Dakota while on the road. They had to call up Anderson and Gallows to come get them a ride, and Jinder had to pay $6,000 out of his own pocket to pay for the car. And I think it had insurance too. It had insurance on it, but it was still $6,000 for the fucking car when they hit the deer. I guess it blew up like the radiator or something, and the car was completely shot. AJ, speaking of Anderson and Gallows, AJ Styles brings up Carl Anderson's mannerisms, how he kind of like shakes and does the eyebrow thing, and Bobby Roode says, does he really do that? Like, are you joking? And AJ says, no, he actually does it. And Bobby Roode says, that's really weird. And AJ goes, yeah, I know. Sunil says if he wasn't a WWE superstar, if he wasn't a Singh brother, if he wasn't a Bollywood boy, what would he be? He would be a rapper. Jinder says he would probably be a luchador if he wasn't Jinder Mahal. Interesting choice. AJ calls Anderson and Gallows, speaking of whom, in the car. They don't pick up their phones. I guess their messages, that not only do they not pick up their phones, their voice mailboxes are full, so they can't even leave a message. Anderson does not have an outgoing, a voice mailbox, whatever. Gallows has one of those ringbacks. RJ has the same exact ringback on his phone. Not the ringtone, but what you hear while you're calling them. He has an outgoing, but his mailbox is also full, so they cannot leave a message, unfortunately. Jinder recalls his WrestleMania 33 moment with Gronk. Last year, he said he wants the main event WrestleMania. Keep dreaming, buddy. Sunil says he danced, or not that he says, they get to the arena, and he dances with Beth Phoenix. For whatever reason, Jinder says, dance, monkey, dance. So he dances with Beth Phoenix, I guess, obviously arriving for the... it must have been after the Mixed Match Challenge debuted, because Beth has been at TV in recent months for the Mixed Match Challenge on commentary. Anyway, so Bobby Roode says he looks forward to WrestleMania 34. At some point, he would love to see him and AJ Styles one-on-one at a future WrestleMania. And he says AJ Styles maybe has a future as an Uber driver? ? I guess time will tell. And the next episode will feature, we got a bit of a sneak peek at the end of this one. The next episode will feature The New Days, Xavier Woods, Kofi Kingston, and Big E. And in the other car, Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin, which I assume will drop, I don't know about tonight, maybe next week. Usually they space out the ride-alongs and the photo shoots like with every other week. So look for that to debut at some point down the road, no pun intended. So anyway, guys, this was a great episode of Ride Along. AJ and Roode have awesome chemistry. Even Jinder and Sunil Singh, I thought, were really likable in this episode. Finding out a few new things I never knew before, so in that respect, it was a newsworthy episode, if nothing else. On a very, small scale, but it was still newsworthy to an extent. But overall, just a very entertaining 20 minutes. So if you have 20 minutes in your day to kill, definitely check it out on the WWE Network, the Phenomenal and Glorious Getaway edition of WWE Ride Along. So that being said, guys, be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content. We'll have more content going up throughout the week every single day, as always, with Wrestle Rant tomorrow, hashtag AskGSM, answering all your WrestleMania-themed questions this coming Wednesday, Wrestle Rant Radio excerpts with thoughts on WrestleMania and much, much more. Friday, the random video blog, and so many more videos going up throughout the week. So, with all that being said, guys, enjoy the rest of the post-WrestleMania week. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.